Today we're going to be doing a Halloween drawing. It's gonna be a little black cat. Last year I did this little pumpkin. And this year I wanna walk you like step by step through the whole process. So yeah, let's get on to it.
Okay, so we're starting by defining our borders using my favorite tape. This is the Scotch removable tape and it never tears up my paper, so I really love it and trust it completely. Once my border has been defined, I'm going to use tracing paper to transfer the outline that I drew onto my paper. Okay, so basically all you need to do is scribble on the other side of where you drew your little outline, and this will transfer either graphite or charcoal, and voila, just like that, it's on your paper. Now I'm going to go over it with my pencil just to make sure that the lines are a little darker and I can see them later on. I am going to start by shading the background since my reference is like a full black background and a little face peeking out. I'm using the Conte Appareil 3B pencil for this. It is very creamy and very dark, and it just gets the background super dark in one layer. So this pencil gets the background super dark, but not the exact texture that you would like. It doesn't look extra smooth with just one layer, so that's why you're gonna see me going over it like a lot during the whole drawing. I'm gonna use my fingers to spread it out. I'm gonna use brushes, sponges, the whole thing. You'll see right here I'm starting with a very rough brush because I want the charcoal to really get into the paper to have like a strong base that I can go over later. And now I'm using my fingers to get rid of all the excess powder and spread it as much as I can so that we don't waste a drop of this, because yeah, I hate wasting materials. I like to use kneaded erasers to clean my fingers when I have too much charcoal on them. And now I'm using a General's charcoal pencil 6B to go over the background mixed with the Conte Appareil. Yeah, it's kind of a mess, but you just have to trust the process. This drawing is going to be the definition of trust the process, and the ugly stages are fucking real. It was looking so ugly at one point that I was like, I've forgotten how to draw. I really don't understand what's happening. Anyways, I pulled through and it turned out okay. I ended up spending about 3.5 hours, so it's like a quicker drawing, but it's still detailed. I'm trying to get the charcoal like really into the paper, like I wanted to really grasp onto it. It was kind of hard because I had my light on and it made everything look less smooth than it was. at this point. You're gonna see tomorrow when I finish the drawing with daylight that it looks so much different. Like the black looks really black and smooth, and yeah, you don't feel that when you're working with a light. And since the contemporary is a little bit like velvety, you can see a lot more texture than you would with regular charcoal and the light hitting it. So now I'm going to outline the eyes and basically everything that is shaded, that is super dark on the whole little face. So I'm like defining my shadows pretty much. For areas like this where there is some detail, I like to use the General's HB charcoal pencil. It's really hard. It's like a hard charcoal in other brands like Faber-Castell. They call it, I think, hard and softer charcoal maybe. I don't know if I'm talking shit right now, but yeah, it's like hard so you can get the details very precisely. Now I'm using an embossing tool to draw the whiskers. I don't want to get any charcoal in them, so this really helps to keep them defined the whole time while the drawing is still very messy. After I indented the whiskers, I thought it would be a good idea to do a little bit more of indenting on the whole face, which I kind of think I regret a little bit on some areas because it looked kind of harsh and it was hard to get it to look soft again later. And here I'm just using a 4B charcoal pencil to keep defining my dark areas. The darkness of the background really comes into the face so that it looks like it's peeking out. So there is still a lot of shading to do and a lot of background to come into the face. After applying charcoal like this, I always go over it with a hard brush just to help it grasp onto the paper and blend it out a little bit. Now I'm using a small brush with the tip cut off so that it makes it like super hard. And I'm using this to blend out all the dark areas. Now I'm going to be using a sponge, which is kind of like a mini beauty blender, to create the midtones. At this point, I truly started questioning my ability to draw, and I was kind of losing faith in this drawing. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. It was just looking so bad. Like, the ugly stage is too real, and you just have to push through, and I promise maybe like 80% of the time you're going to like what you end up with, but you have to put a lot of time, a lot of layers, and a lot of patience into your drawings. Like, imagine if you're not getting the results that you want just because you're stopping at stages like this because, I don't know, you run out of patience, or you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna drop this. If you keep going, you can make it so much better. Like, I spent 3.5 hours on this drawing, but I could have spent 10 and it would have been so much better. but for the purpose of this video, I just decided to stop at 3.5. I thought it was good enough, but you can always make everything look so much better, which is the beauty of doing art and stuff like this. Also, I've been using a balloon inflator lately to just blow off all the extra charcoal and anything that gets on my drawings, and it's working very well. This step is something that you're gonna see a lot, and you've probably already seen it a lot. I'm just going over the shadows. I'm trying to build up the layers until it looks a little bit better than what it does at the moment, because it looks like a true mess and like you would have no faith in this drawing. I know, I had no faith, but we're gonna make it better. I'm just gonna keep building up layers, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. After doing a couple layers on the face and the fur, I am going to do the eye because I need some detail. I need to know that this drawing is going to turn out okay. So if I can get one eye to look good, I feel like it's going to make my mind be at peace. I talked about this on my last video, like how the ugly stage really plays tricks on my mind. So this, like doing this eye and making it look good, is super important for me to know that it is going to be okay, and this is just part of the process. It's just really hard getting over it, but I can do it, you can do it, we can all do it. This shows like how important highlights are. I mean, creating volume on paper is a game of shadows and highlights and getting those right. You're gonna see how the eye is gonna look like it's like popping off, and it's just gonna give the drawing a little life. This pencil that you see right now is a Faber-Castell matte graphite. It was still kind of shiny compared to the charcoal, so I always had to blend it out right after. I used it a couple times for the smallest details that I couldn't get with charcoal, because like it gets worn off really quick, so you can't really get a lot of detail unless you're sharpening your charcoal like every 1.5 seconds. It is now the next day. Look at the difference in the background, please. It looks so smooth and dark, and it just gives me hope for the future of this drawing. Yesterday I focused on the shadows, and now it's time to add the highlights. This gives the drawing so much volume. Like, it makes it feel like it's kind of 3D-ish instead of it looking super flat like it did yesterday. Also, doing that eye was the best decision that I made, because there was a real big possibility that I would have woken up today and just been like, I do not want to continue this drawing because it looks so bad. So if you're like me and you really struggle with the ugly stages, doing little tricks like this can help you stay on a drawing and still be excited about it. Now that we have shaded, blended, and repeated many times, as well as defined our highlighted zones, we are going to start drawing the little hairs. I'm going to be using a Tombow Mono Zero eraser, and I'm going to make sure that it's very sharp all the time. Since the drawing is so tiny, we want the hairs to be as thin as possible. Since it's looking pretty harsh, I'm using a beauty blender to blend out a little bit of all the hairs that I just drew and create a layer this way. And I'm gonna go over it again a couple times probably to still build up the layers of the fur. Now that the base is pretty solid, I am going to use a electric eraser to create the tiniest details. This tool is incredibly helpful for like the smallest things that you want to draw and you just feel like you can't get to. It's super helpful. The focus now is to create details, as many as possible. Since the size is so small, it's kind of hard, but it also means that less details need to be added for it to look real. Just a little reminder that blending after every layer is incredibly important and it can make a huge difference. Removing the tape and seeing like the sharp edges is the most satisfying feeling ever, I think. Like, it feels so nice. Anyways, here I am spraying the drawing with fixative, and I decided to draw a little moon on his forehead so that it looks more like a little Halloween kitty, and I thought it looked cute. And that's all I have for you for this week. It is currently 2 a.m. and I am so sleepy, so I will see you next Saturday.